Howdy, and everyone watching the Siege Major. My name is Caitlin, I'm your panel host, and this is Operation Ember Rise. Now let's get started by watching this quick video by Ubisoft News.
Operation Ember Rise is bringing that super hot fire to Rainbow Six Siege with 2 new operators and a newly reworked map. The defender bringing the heat is Goyo, who can use his Volcán shields to create strategic cover points, deny entry to the attacking team, and serve up the occasional operator flambe. The attacker rising to the challenge is Amaru. Her Garra hook can quickly zip her up to rooftops, exterior windows, open hatches, and skylights. We've got the details you need to know about the new operators, as well as a tour of the newly reworked kanal map. First up is Goyo. This operator from Mexico's FES unit is a savvy tactician who can rapidly deploy his Volcán shields to stymie incoming attackers. The Volcán shield shares all the attributes of a deployable shield, including the new look and the new Snap to Doorways feature, but the Volcán shield has a surprise. Anytime Goyo, his teammates, or even the attacking team sets off the incendiary core attached to the back of a Volcán shield, there's a small explosion, followed by a prolonged "oh my god, it's all on fire" effect that you definitely don't want to try running through. The explosion can be triggered by damaging the core directly or destroying the shield entirely, so Goyo doesn't necessarily have to stick around and be the one to set it off. In fact, this medium speed, medium armor operator can be quite deadly while either roaming with his Vector 45 ACP or hunkering down with the TC-SG-12 shotgun. If things go bad, his shields are still a threat even after he's been killed, especially when paired with a Kapkan trap. But the threat goes both ways. While Thatcher's EMP grenades and Twitch's drone can't disable the incendiary core, and IQ can't detect it, the Volcán shield is still a deployable shield at heart, meaning it can be destroyed, and the explosion triggered by a frag grenade. Or Ash's breaching round. You could also use Zophia's impact grenade, or Sledge's hammer. This is fine. On top of that, anyone with a clear line of sight to the incendiary core can set it off, meaning a poorly placed Volcán shield can work against the defending team. The goal with Goyo is to leverage the power of the Volcán shield and deny entry to enemies at critical moments, or simply buy your team some time early on. When the attackers are pushing, or when the round is coming to an end, trigger your Volcán shields to keep them away from the objective or cover your flank. A well-timed Volcán explosion can be the difference between lighting up the scoreboard or going down in flames. While Goyo seeks to impede the movement of his enemies, the Peruvian attacker Amaru can get around the map like no operator before. This is her Garra hook, and it lets her zip to any repellable ledge or window to quickly position herself where defenders aren't expecting her to be. And once she's inside the building, the Garra hook lets her travel up through open hatches and skylights. That's a first for Rainbow Six Siege, and defenders will have to adjust their strategy accordingly or pay the price. When it comes to choosing your destination, the Garra hook makes it easy, clearly showing what it can or could grapple to. You can't grapple to something that's too far away or too far below your position, but you can use the hook for horizontal traversal, as long as you're entering a window. Once inside a building, you can't target anything but open hatches and skylights. While the hook will instantly break a wooden barricade on a window, a castle barricade will prevent you from even targeting it. And a closed hatch will need to be opened before you can ascend through it. Amaru's Supernova or ITA-12S shotguns will come in handy if defenders leave those hatches unreinforced. This makes Garra hook entry a bit noisy, so team communication and good droning are all the more valuable. Amaru doesn't pull her gun up until landing from the grapple, so she's completely vulnerable to Kapkan and frost traps lying in wait. Not to mention any defenders who may have heard her entry coming. Operators who can give her a quick buff, like Finka, or use their gadgets to distract defenders, like Ying or Dokebi, are strong pairings for Amaru. But with medium speed, medium armor, and a G8A1 LMG in her hands, Amaru is a well-rounded and very mobile force to be reckoned with. All this action has been taking place on the newly reworked Kanal map. The map is still split between two buildings, but an additional bridge has been added to increase building-to-building movement options. There are fewer windows around objective sites, and the rooftops have been reconfigured to make runouts more risky. And additional staircases and color coding throughout both buildings have been added for more rotation options and easier callouts. The reworked Kanal map will be free for all players when Operation Ember Rise launches. The two new operators, Goyo and Amaru, will be immediately available for Year 4 pass holders, and all other players can unlock them 7 days later with Renown or R6 credits. For more on Rainbow Six Siege, subscribe to this channel and visit us at news.ubisoft.com.
Now, to talk about Operation Ember Rise, I am joined by Senior Level Designer Jeremy Dowsett, as well as Presentation Director Alex Karpasis. Now that we are in North Carolina, Alex, how does it feel to be back here at a major?
It's beautiful, it's sunny out, it's a great time to talk about Season 3.
And we will be saving all of your operator intel for the second half of the panel, as usual. And Jeremy, any interesting run-ins with bourbon and barbecue?
There's been a few run-ins with barbecue pretty much every night. The food here is amazing. Just everyone I've met is so lovely to talk to. It's such a great place to be.
All right, well, let's get started with your map, which is the Kanal rework. This is the latest rework to come, the last one being Cafe. And this is one of the original maps of Siege. Now, Kanal has not been available in the ranked playlist for almost 2 years, so since September 2017. So many of you will be happy to know that with this rework, Kanal will be coming back to ranked.
That's correct. We've gone through top to bottom on this map and we've totally reworked it. Obviously, adding a new bomb site makes it ranked compatible. But, if we talk about the problems with the map, we've gone through, we've really looked at navigation, we've looked at sound, we've looked at lighting. It's going to feel like a comfy pair of slippers, but it has, a new spice to it, that's for sure.
So first, let's compare it to the Cafe rework to get kind of a scope of this project. Because, of course, since we haven't seen Kanal and ranked so much for so long, presumably it would have required a more thorough overhaul. And you worked on this for 9 months, almost a year.
It was about 9 months worth of work. The team and I started working on it around Paris Major time last year. So it's been 9 months of looking at the map, taking it apart, and obviously trying to fix all of the issues with it.
So speaking about the issues, let's start breaking those down. Now, the most obvious problem that Kanal had was the choke points.
Yes.
Kanal is one building to the east, one to the west, and before there was just one bridge connecting both buildings. How was this addressed?
The first thing we did is we added a bridge off of control room, which now gives a new rooftop access as well. So you have two bridges. You have the original bridge still in the same place as it always has been, and then there's a new bridge 1 floor up. So that aids in the rotation. The other thing we did is we went through and we added stairs. We know that 2 sets of stairs or 2 flights of stairs are always much better than 1 flight of stairs. So we've added an extra set of stairs into both buildings.
So now each building has 2 stairs, and of course the choke point has been pretty opened up in the middle.
What's happened now is when you go and play, and obviously it comes out soon, it's much more of a roamer-friendly map, and the rounds play an awful lot more differently than they used to, because the way the rounds played was people would wait to the last minute and then they would basically just rush in and smoke or whatever. So now what you're going to find is people are clearing the building. They're actually going because they can actually get to the objective rather than waiting outside.
All right, and then we should also talk about the other elephant in the room, which was the spawn peaks. One of your favorite things to address.
Yeah, after the closet window in Villa, sprint yeet the C4 towards fountains. I learned from that one quite well. So what we've done is we've gone through and we've looked at all of the runouts and the runout possibilities, and we've made sure that anyone that wants to run out will be detected before they get to the edge of the roof in most cases.
So if you really have your heart set on running out, you still can, but you'll be detected, so it turns into more of a 1v1 scenario.
Yeah, it still can be done. Yesterday we were playing with a bunch of the creators, and they will run out on you, and they did. But it becomes a one-on-one. It's possible, but it's dangerous.
Right. So it's a little bit more skill, which I think is what you're going for.
Yes.
All right, awesome. And then, of course, as you mentioned, Kanal also received a lot of sound propagation. Destruction is a lot more clear now. Lighting updates as well.
The team went through and did an amazing job, the art team especially, going through and color coding the stairs. The sound team did a great job because it is a big map and there's a lot of doorways and windows. So we went through and we touched everything. There's a lot of line of sight floors now, so you can play, you can defend from below. So it's actually really quite fun and it's quite balanced. I enjoy playing it.
I guess in your words, that our team actually went rogue.
Yeah. I wouldn't say they went rogue. Yeah, they went rogue. So what happened is, as we've changed metrics over the seasons, basically we had to move all of the walls by 5 centimeters. That means they had to touch the shell anyway, and whilst they were rejinking the shell, they just went through and redid the entire thematics of the buildings, and it looks absolutely superb.
And so we'll see when we're going through the map that when a wall is destructible, not only does it look destructible, but there are those markings on the ground, just for anyone who's new to the game or has kind of issues about looking for destructibility. So now what we're going to do is we are going to start breaking down every single bomb site on Kanal. And we're going to start with the second floor. So are you ready to go through the entire map, Jeremy?
I'm good to go.
All right, so again, we're starting here on the second floor. The objective here is server radar. We're going to be spawning in at Sailboat, which is to the south, and we're going to be going straight there.
So the spawn points in this map haven't actually changed at all. So there's still the 3 major spawn points, sailboats, floating docks, and construction. There's new art assets, nothing too serious, but there is some new stuff to block lines of sight. We're going to go in through reception. What people will notice with reception is we've actually changed the rotation of the desk, so it actually aids in navigation. And if you look sneakily to the left, archives is much wider now as well. The original bridge is still off to the right, and this is blue corridor, and you can see the markings that are on the floor to show you where the destructible walls are. And then you go through, and you're going to come up a new area, which is printer stairs, which is a new rooftop access. And this access, on the right, there's a window, and then you have the new tunnel that goes to control room. Now, control room radar used to be one massive plant zone. So what we've done is we've actually split it down. Renovations are still there. I know people love renovations on the soft wall. So the plant zone is actually much smaller, so people have to commit. All of the blue walls here are destructible. Then you're into red corridor, going towards green stairs, and then you're going into server. Now, server used to have the corridor around it. We removed it because you get confused. So the bomb sites are side by side. You can blow the walls and have a lot of rotation. It's line of sight, and there's 3 hatches in this area.
So this objective especially, it used to kind of feel like sitting in a glass aquarium for the defenders. There were a lot of windows that opened up directly onto the site, but we don't see any of that now.
Basically, when we go through and we start iterating upon the map, we shut down all of the windows. So the first thing we did on this map is we shut the windows, and then bit by bit we opened them. Obviously, like you say, you felt like you're in an aquarium. The gameplay is still there because that's the flavor of the map. You still can actually snipe from the rooftop, but the field of view and the angles now is actually much, much finer. So you need to really time your shots.
Burnouts are harder, sniping is harder, it's more skillful.
Yes.
All right, so now let's move down to the first floor. There are 2 objectives here. There is one to the west, which is Coast Guard Mini Lounge, and then there is one to the east. I have that backwards. There's one to the east, and no, I have that right, okay.
It's maps and security.
Yeah, we're going to maps and security, and we're going to go up to the second floor first, and then we're going to go down to the first floor. So
maps and security maps hasn't really changed too much, but people will recognize it. Construction, everyone's going to remember, it hasn't actually changed all that much. There's a few new props, but the path is still the same from the spawn points. You'll see the nice new red stairs that are covered to stop people come running down and doing early kills. You will get detected by the time you're at the bottom. You come in through construction entrance, and then we have the entrance, and if you go hard right, you'll go into green stairs, back up to server again. Now, what's really nice about this is with the stairs and the walls, it's really easy to call out, and it's actually much easier for people to navigate because it's just cleaner and much nicer for the players. You blow the hatch and you can drop straight into security. Now, with security, if you remember, there used to be a locker room. That's changed. We've put a door through now, so you can actually go between the 2 bomb sites, between maps and security. And then the kitchen is still off on the right-hand side. You'll notice there is actually a window in projector just to the side, so you can still get shot at from the roof or across the buildings. And obviously there's a window in kitchen if you want to try and come through.
Right, and so this is an objective that's been changed so that you have to commit when you go onto the site.
You really need to get through the door, and it's one of the sites where you're going to find that you can actually defend it remotely, and I think we'll see a lot of that being played.
All right, so let's go on to the other objective on the first floor to the west. We're actually going to spawn in construction again, so this is a bit of a longer route to take, and instead of going up to the second floor first and then working our way down, we're going to go from the basement.
So, everyone remembers Coast Guard meeting. There's been a number of significant changes to this this area, but it's still going to feel quite familiar. So we're off at Coast Guard again. You can obviously see the wonderful submarines that are docked there. You come through, and the route we're going to take is we're going to go down into Garage. Garage is now external rather than being internal, with the doorway to the red stairs on the left-hand side. So this is now, you know, a place where the defenders can't go. So we've closed it up a little bit. Obviously, we're underneath the new bridge. You can see the windows that go up into football, and we're going to go into lockers. Lockers hasn't changed a great deal. Everyone will remember it, and it goes through to showers. You go up the hatch with Amaru's hook, and then you're straight into football. Half of this room is destructible floor, half of it isn't, but there's a lot of destructible walls. Then you come across blue corridor into Coast Guard meeting. Everyone will remember the 145-degree wall that's actually in the map, which is the split between the two rooms. Go through complete line of sight floor here, and then what people will notice is Archives has changed. It's much wider, there's a breakable wall, and there's a double door, so it's less of a choke if you're actually going to try and attack from Archives. It's still hard, but you can do it.
Nice. So still, once again, it's skillful.
Yes.
And we also saw Amaru's gadget being used there, as you mentioned, coming up through the hatch, which makes defending this site kind of tricky, because now you have to decide if you want to reinforce those hatches, which limits your rotations.
It's a choice that people will learn, and they'll actually, the strats will evolve over time. Obviously, with you having to reinforce hatches, you know, you make a decision. If someone's staying anchored in the bomb site, you can cover the hatch. You're going to hear it get blown, so it's not so bad, but it does change the strats a little bit for sure.
All right, so let's move on to the last objective then, and this is in the basement. Now, the basement never had an objective before. Of course, this brings the total number to 4, making it ranked playlist compatible. For this one, we're going to start by spawning in the northwest at Floating Dock, and we are going to make use of a new tunnel to get on site.
Ah, the tunnel, yes. So this area's changed quite a lot. Everyone will remember Coast Guard suppliers. It hasn't changed. It looks exactly the same, but we've rejinked a little bit. When you start a floating dock, you can now go up right. There's a path that leads up to car park, and you can drop down into Forklift Alley. There's a new tunnel that goes all the way through to the car park as well, and all of this has been completely reworked. So you've got the new shell, you've got diving alcove, and what we're about to do is jump into diving, which is a new room. In the far right-hand corner behind the scuba gear, there's the set of stairs that leads all the way up to printer. So it goes yellow stairs, blue stairs, up into printer. You have a tunnel that comes all the way from diving all the way through to in between showers. So if you're getting pinched, you can drop into the tunnel, but you have to be careful because obviously defenders or attackers, everyone can use it. You come through bathroom, into the basement corridor, and then you're into boat suppliers. This will look very familiar to people because it hasn't changed all that much. Obviously there's a bomb hatch there. And we go into kayaks, which is a new room and a new bomb site, which is really good. The white walls are all destructible, so we've color-coded that. And then you have diving. So you've got a lot of options, and the site plays really interesting because everyone tries to use the same old strategy. You know, there's always a firefight on white stairs, which is quite fun, but now it changes because there's different options.
So from your testing, is the tunnel more advantageous for attackers or for defenders?
It's really a 50-50 because it's a risk versus reward, to be honest, because there's a ladder and it does leave whoever uses it, they're going to be prone when they're coming out of the ladder so that they can get attacked quite quickly. I find it really useful when you're getting pinched and you're playing lockers and you want to just get out and rotate straight back down to diving.
All right, well, thank you so much, Jeremy, for walking us through the kanal rework. Again, I'm sure many people are going to be very happy to know that this map is coming back to ranked.
I hope it's always a very nervous time for the dev team. I really hope that the community loves it, and I'm sure that even though I've tried to stop all of the spawn peaks, I'm sure that someone's going to find one somewhere. But that's the beauty of the community. They always learn, and I learn from them.
Well, you'll be able to play the new kanal rework starting tomorrow, Monday, August 19th on the test server. So get out there and make Jeremy and his team proud. And now we will move on to the 2 new operators of the season. Now, these operators are unlike any ones that have been released before because they really encourage player creativity, and you can play them how you really want to. Now, by this, what I mean is that with Amaru, you can attack however you want, And with Goyo, it doesn't matter if you prefer anchoring or roaming, because you can do both with him, even in the same round. So to talk about this, we have Alex.
Hello, Kaylin.
So let's get to the bottom of who Amaru is first. Who is Amaru?
Right, so Amaru is an operator we really haven't seen before. She comes from a civilian background, not a traditional CTU, and she's made it her life's mission to protect her heritage, to fight against traffickers of antiquities, and this has really been her strong goal.
So someone who's very morally strong and fights for what she believes is right.
Absolutely.
And let's move on then to her gadget first. So do you want to introduce the gadgets for players?
Yeah, of course. So the Garra hook. This is something that she actually made herself. And as you can see, she gets from point A to point B incredibly fast.
Very fast. How fast?
The travel time is about 7.5 meters per second.
And we'll get into that a little bit later on. And so the hook outside, it works on ledges, skylights, windows, and inside it works on hatches. So she's the very first operator who can ascend up through hatches.
Yes, and like Jeremy was saying before, this kind of changes things up now for defenders, whether or not you have to reinforce those hatches on defense.
So with so many options of how to attack a site with her, what kind of player would be drawn to Amaru?
Someone who really enjoys creativity. This is the first operator that's not really based on a role, it's based on movement, and we haven't seen that before. So there's going to be a lot of freedom with that, and I think players who are very well accustomed to our maps will really enjoy it.
So creative players, and again, it doesn't really matter what operator you go out with, because she has synergy with all operators, really.
It's really about playing with your team, making sure that they're droning so that you know where you're going, where you need to be. It'll be a really good team play operator.
All right, so let's talk about her loadout. Starting with her primary loadout, Amaru comes with either a Supernova or a G8A1, so a shotgun or an LMG. And what's interesting about this is that the Supernova now comes with a silencer attachment, and the LMG has an angled foregrip. Now, the silencer, that's not for sneaky shotgun kills, is it, Alex?
Not really. So for hatches, you have to break them first in order to get up them. So the silencer just helps her be not announcing her position as loudly as before. And then with the LMG, having that new angled foregrip means that she can ready the weapon a little bit quicker.
Right, because she'll probably be popping up from a hatch, maybe literally on site.
Yep.
And you don't want to spend a year bringing that gun up to your face.
Absolutely.
All right, and so for her secondary loadout, she has the option of taking either a shotgun again, which is the IDA 12S, or an SMG, the SMG 11. And what's great here is that even if you take the LMG for your primary, you still have the option of taking a shotgun so that you can still open up hatches, because they have to be opened up in order to use the Garra hook on them.
Right, that's our designers just making sure that you have some options to play with and that everything fits with her kit.
So her secondary gadget options are either breaching charges or a claymore. The claymore is really useful if you need someone to watch your flank. So if you're zipping around the map, going through hatches, and you're worried that a defender might follow you through the hatches, then it's useful to put down a claymore to warn you of that.
Right, and if you want the breaching charge, this opens new ways to flank, to move through some of the jungle of a map to make sure that you get to the objective quickly.
So both of them are good picks overall.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so then let's talk about what I'm sure people are waiting for, and that is, how do you counter Amaru? And we'll first touch on the strongest counter to her, which is Castle.
Castle, absolutely. He reinforces the windows so that an Amaru can't break it with just her gadget. She'll need help from a teammate, or if she wants to use a breaching charge on it, that would actually slow down incredibly a lot.
And then after Castle, good picks against Amaru are trap operators.
Yeah, so if the attacking team isn't droning, they're not checking what's beyond that window, what's beyond that hatch, Amaru could get stuck really easily. You just place them underneath those windows.
And then a really strong counter to her is actually just map awareness and sound awareness.
Right, so the design team spent a lot of time with this, making sure that the window is broken so that you can hear her reeling in. It gives a little bit of time for the defenders to anticipate this. And so if you have that one-on-one confrontation with an Amaru bursting through a window, usually the Amaru will lose 70% of the time just because of the noise she makes and the readying time of her weapon.
So she is a very fast operator, as we mentioned. but you do have the ability to hear her when she's coming and do
Right.
something about it.
Right, so it becomes important for an Amaru player to play smart, not too aggressive, and really use roaming and quick speed to pop up one place and disappear and re-move somewhere else.
All right, let's move on to the second operator of the season then, which is Goyo. Who is Goyo, Alex?
So Goyo has had a bit of a tragic past. He lost his father and his brother at a very young age. So it was his mother who raised him, and his mother's best friend, who actually happened to be Amaru. So Amaru took him under her wing, taught him everything he knows, and that's why they have such a close friendship.
Yeah, I don't mean to add to the heat puns, but just looking at the graphics and everything, you can see that there's this like warmth between them and this connection.
Yes, so we'll actually have more to tell about their friendship, and you'll see it more with the CG that we'll be releasing right before the season starts.
All right, let's talk about Goyo's gadget then, which is the Volcán shield.
Right, so he gets 3 of these. These are the new deployable shields that will be dropping in the season as well. He attaches this canister that can be triggered by a ballistic or by an explosion, and it's really used to funnel attackers into one choke point, trigger it, and delay as much time as possible.
So let's just touch on a few things about the shield. From the front, it looks like a completely normal deployable shield.
Right, so already you have mind games where the attacking side sees the shield, they have to drone it out to figure out if it is a Goyo shield or not, and then they have to deal with it.
Right, because if you started leaping over it, a defender could shoot it
You'll
up.
be in trouble, yeah.
And then, much like Mira's canisters on her black mirrors, anyone can shoot it. However, unlike Mira's black mirrors, Twitch drones cannot shoot the explosive on the back of it.
Right, so electricity does not affect it.
Right. So don't think that you're going to be getting those early phase prep kills.
Right, that's specifically why the designers made sure that doesn't happen.
All right, so let's talk about his loadout. Goyo has 2 options of very strong guns to pick. He can take either the Vector 45 or the TC-SG-12.
Right, and so the shotgun actually comes with an ACOG, which means he can have very long lines of sight in triggering his canisters, and both weapons actually play well with his ability to either anchor or roam. Because his canisters are deployed by anyone, he can start out as an anchor and place those shields, and maybe he can rotate somewhere else, and the teammate can actually trigger the shield.
Right, so that's a really good time to talk about how, with Goyo, you can be an anchor or a roamer with him, and you can make that decision mid-game, even in the exact same round that you're in.
Right, and both his weapons work out super well with that. The Vector is a strong weapon either way, however you play it, and the shotgun too can be quite versatile.
Especially with the ACOG, you can use that roaming.
Yes, absolutely.
And then for his secondary loadout, he has a pistol, which is useful for getting those vertical shots on his shield in order to set it off.
Yep, it's just a good default standby to trigger those shields.
Now for his secondary gadgets, his options are either C4 or impacts. Of course, impacts are great for roaming, but they're also good for setting up good angles on his shields on site, so that either he can hit them or a defender can hit them while he's off site.
Right, so impacts can trigger the shields, and he can be a bit more protected without exposing his location. And then you have C4, which is, again, a great fragging tool that you can have in your kit.
I'm sure some people would never dare take the impacts over the C4.
Yep, and that's totally their choice. How you want to play Goyo is up to you.
So let's talk about his counters then. Countering Goyo is really about making the best use of your utility.
Right.
So these operators that we're seeing now that counter Goyo, like Ash and Zofia, how they counter him is by swapping 1 charge of their gadget for 1 charge of Goyo's gadget. So it's kind of 1 utility for 1 utility. It's not the most cost-effective way, but is a quick option to get rid of his shield.
That's right. If you come across the shield, you don't want to be delaying any time for your team. So these are 2 great options to quickly deal with it.
And then moving on to kind of a similar counter to Goyo, using consumables, so using frags to take out the shields, is another way you can get rid of them.
Right, and it means that you don't have to rely on that Ash or Zofia. You can have some versatility in dealing with these stalling tactics.
But one of the most cost-effective ways of dealing with Goyo is taking operators like Buck or Sledge, and then using the charges on their gadget to get verticality on Goyo's shield, and then just shooting it.
Yeah, and this becomes really important for a good Goyo player to make sure they're placing these shields in places that you can't get those line of sights vertically. You can't destroy the floors and then get that nice angle on it.
And of course, just anyone shooting it with a bullet is very cost effective.
That will absolutely do it.
So that is the first look at both Amaru and Goyo. Both of these operators will August 19th on the test server. And now we're going to talk about other upcoming features of the season. More with Alex.
Yeah, and we have a lot of them.
Yes, there are a lot. We'll start with player behavior changes first, though.
Right, so the player behavior team has been working really hard on some quick fixes that actually really improve the game. So at the start of the season, what you'll see is leaving escalation penalties. So if somebody's been leaving quite frequently, we'll step up the penalty that's applied to them, and it should encourage players to not leave intentionally. On top of that, we also have, we'll be detecting if somebody is AFK at the start of the prep phase, and if they have the diffuser, they'll actually drop it automatically at the start of the round. That way you don't have to team kill to get that diffuser on your team. Then, during Season 3, we'll be introducing a couple more changes, which is squads and reverse friendly fire. So we know we've been listening to the community feedback. Reverse friendly fire has been working really well, but there is this failing where squads can team up on one individual player. They can pick on them and they don't get a sanction applied. So now we'll be talking about the squad as a total. We'll be getting that reverse friendly fire sanction as a group.
So it's especially appreciated if you're someone who solo queues a lot.
Yeah, these are really small changes that make a big, big difference.
And now let's talk about upcoming changes to the playlists.
Yes, so we started last season with a lot of changes for ranked, and that's really our end game content. We want players to be playing ranked playlists. It's the most rewarding, it's the most competitive, and we want to make sure that we help players get to that content. So one of the changes we're making right now is introducing a new rank called the Champions rank. This is above Diamond tier, above 5,000 MMR. Anybody who reaches above this will be assigned a number, and they'll be compared to other players who have the same rank. Then we're talking about rank distribution. We've changed it up a bit. You'll see the bell curve now lies a little bit closer to the silver, and we've added more ranks at the lower tiers. This way you'll be progressing a little bit more steadily, and it means that gold is a little bit more important now when you do achieve that rank. We have a change to the map pools that I know people will be excited about. So for ranked, we're actually reducing the size of the map pools. We're taking out Hereford, Theme Park, and Fortress, and we're adding the new Canal rework. And you'll also see casual will be reduced a little bit more, just so that it's easier to learn the maps that you're playing and you're well aware of what you need to do.
Yeah, so hopefully this will reduce the entry barrier to Siege, because a lot of people coming into Siege will get overwhelmed by how many maps there are. And even for people who are already playing, now you can focus on learning and mastering less maps.
Right, and these are going to be our most competitive maps that we're listening to the community for. So it should help out a lot. And then one last thing to announce is a new playlist that's coming to Siege, which is the unranked playlist. This is ranked rules without all of the stress of actually playing ranked. So you now have this in-between between casual and ranked that players can progress through and feel confident in when they want to play ranked.
So this is especially useful for people who really suffer from ladder anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we are also going to announce that Siege is getting a battle pass.
Rainbow Six Siege is getting a battle pass. In Year 4, the battle pass will be deployed in 2 phases. Phase 1 is the mini battle pass, named Call Me Harry. It'll be short, 7 days and 7 tiers, and completely free. As you play, you earn battle points that unlock tiers and rewards. So the more you play, the more you earn. Upon completing the pass, you'll receive the unique Harry Chibi charm. Call Me Harry will be available during Operation Ember Rise. Phase 2 is coming in Season 4 this year. It'll be a full-fledged battle pass. Here's how it'll work. There will be 2 tracks, a free track and an optional premium track. You progress through both tracks by playing and earning battle points. Even if you choose not to unlock the premium track, you'll still be able to collect rewards on the free track. So while the Battle Pass is active, everyone gets more rewards for playing. Finally, through the Battle Pass, you will get to learn more about Harry and the operators of Rainbow Six.
Alex, tell us why Siege is getting a Battle Pass.
So, the Battle Pass that we're developing is a new monetization product, but it is also important for us to bring players back, that they're excited to come back, get rewarded, and we want to make sure then that the Battle Pass is something that's generous, something that's fair, and it's also our way of injecting more story now into the Rainbow Six universe.
And why are there 2 phases for the Battle Pass?
This is something we've never done before, so we want to make sure we do it right. So Season 3, we have the smaller mini Battle Pass. That'll be free. That way we get feedback, we can test it out technically to make sure it works. And then Season 4, we open it up. It's a full Battle Pass with more tiers, more cosmetics that you can actually get rewarded for, and a bigger story that we're telling.
And the video also said that while the pass is active, you get more for playing. What does this mean exactly?
So we always want to make sure that the Battle Pass is inclusive. So even if you don't buy into the premium tiers, you're still getting rewarded for all of the time that you're putting into the game.
And there's character lore that's tied to this.
Right, so this is something that's really exciting. The pass will come with descriptions and stories about our operators, about the actual cosmetics that you win. Season 4 actually will have a motion comic too that'll set up a prologue that will talk more about SI 2020.
Well, thank you so much, both Alex and Jeremy, for coming and talking about the upcoming season.
Pleasure.
Absolutely welcome.
And we're not done yet, because we have an announcement from the esports team. Now to talk about the pilot program is Stuart, a manager from the esports team.
Thanks a lot for having me. We're super proud to announce Phase 2 of the pilot program and its member teams today.
So Stuart, tell me, who is in the pilot program?
In North America, we have Evil Geniuses and Rogue returning, joined by Space Station Gaming. In Latin America, we have Team Liquid, FaZe Clan, the newly christened MIBR, and INTZ Esports. In Europe, we have Penta returning with G2, Nadas Vencer, and Team Empire joining the fold. And over in APAC, we've got Cloud9, Norarango, and Fnatic.
And what is the overall goal behind the pilot program?
We want to extend our support to all of the organizations and players within the top level of our community to make Rainbow Six esports a viable career path for as many people as possible.
What's changed between this version of the pilot program and the previous version that we saw before?
So scope and scale, for starters. We wanted to expand the number of teams we support. We wanted to support players directly through this, and we've changed up a couple of the revenue sharing mechanics as well.
So let's get down to the brass tacks. We saw the pro team skins. How does the revenue share for this work?
That one's pretty straightforward. It's a 70-30 split between Ubisoft and the team respectively. 30% of those revenues that a team makes are also forwarded to their players.
And the Pro League Gold skins, are we still going to be seeing those?
Of course, they are a staple of the pilot program these days. We've tweaked it a bit from version 1 of the pilot program. Now in Phase 2, it's a 70-30 split evenly as opposed to a 70-21-9. This is to account for the increased number of teams in the pilot program itself so we can support more.
And how does the Road to 6 Invitational tie into the pilot program?
So this one's a bit different this time around. So beyond just contributing to the 6 Invitational prize pool, we've added a mechanic that acts as a performance incentive for our pilot program member teams. Basically how it'll work, imagine a hypothetical scenario where you're the only team participating in 6 Invitational. So base prize pool is 500 grand. You get 1.5 million from the crowdfunding from Road to 6 Invitational. As the only member team there, the players would take home 1.25 million. The org would get 750,000 of that.
Thank you very much, Stuart, for explaining that to us. And does the esports team have anything else to announce?
We do. We're super happy to announce that our Pro League Season 10 finals are sold out. We have over 4,000 fans going to join us in Tokonami, Japan. Huge thank you to our Japanese community for coming out in force and making this one of the best events.
And of course, to close the panel out, we will now reveal the next elite skin. Welcome to the club, MIRA. That was the first look at Operation Ember Rise. Thank you, Raleigh. Everything here will be playable starting tomorrow, once again on the test server, Monday, August 19th. Don't forget that date. And stay tuned, because the grand finals between G2 and Team Empire will be coming up right after this.
All right, everyone. How you feeling, Raleigh? Yes. It is finally the moment that you have been waiting for. The grand finals of the Raleigh Major start right now, and we have 2 of the best teams in the world that are about to take the stage and compete. But first, let's see how both Empire and G2 got to this point.
No one's watching the hatch. That's exactly what's punishing him. He's going to pick up 2. He's going for 3, and he gets it!
A Nitro Cell being prepped here, being launched out by Uno, and saying goodbye to them both!